There's just something unsettling about abandoned places. The silent halls, the decaying walls, and the feeling that you're not as alone as you think. Tonight, we explore some terrifying encounters of those who dared to step inside somewhere abandoned, only to experience something they can't explain. Everything from eerie whispers to shadowy figures lurking in the dark. These encounters will make you think twice before venturing into the unknown. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Now, are you ready to hear what hides in the emptiness? I still can't explain what happened that night, and honestly, I don't even want to think about it too much, but it's been stuck in my head for weeks now, and I need to know if anyone else has ever experienced something similar. A few friends and I had heard about an old abandoned hunting cabin deep in the woods near my buddy's family's property. The story goes that it had sat abandoned for decades, just sitting there, rotting away in the middle of nowhere. We all figured it'd be fun to go and check it out. Maybe take some creepy photos, or maybe catch something on video that we can upload and maybe go viral. You know, get that rush of being somewhere we weren't supposed to be kind of thing. We hiked out in the late afternoon. The trees were thick and tangled, and the atmosphere was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels unnatural. By the time we found the cabin, the sun was already starting to dip low and cast long shadows that made everything feel weird. The place was in bad shape. I mean, really. The roof was sagging, all the windows were broken, and the door barely hung on the hinges. But the odd thing was, it didn't look empty. The first thing that hit me when we stepped inside was the smell. It wasn't just old wood and damp rot. There was also something sour, like meat that was left out for a few days. My friend joked that maybe some animal had died in there, but honestly, no one laughed. The air felt heavy, despite the place being in shambles, so to say. It was like we walked into something's territory. Inside, the cabin was trashed. The furniture was overturned. Old curtains were tattered and swaying slightly. On one of the walls, there were deep scratches that ran from the floor almost to the ceiling. Not claw marks, though. They looked deliberate, like someone had dragged something sharp over and over in the same spot. After a bit, we all noticed a faint tapping sound coming from somewhere within the cabin. The tapping was then followed by a shuffling, like someone was walking in slippers. We all turned our lights down the darkened hall, but nothing was there. The atmosphere felt like we were being watched from just out of sight. Then came the breathing. It was a deep, ragged breath, and it sounded close. None of us were moving, but I swear it was coming from right behind me. I turned around, expecting to see one of my friends messing around with me, but they were all frozen in place, staring past me at something in the hall. When I turned to look, I saw a shadow move. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't a person nor an animal. It just looked wrong. This shadow was darker than the darkness itself. How was that even possible? This was a shape that didn't make sense. It kept shifting, twisting, as if it didn't know how to hold itself together. After a few moments of this going on, the damn thing rushed us. The door had been half broken when we got there, but we tore through it like it was just paper, sprinting back into the woods without a second thought. I don't even remember the run back to the road. All I know is we didn't stop until we were far away from the cabin. We never went back. The next day, my buddy's dad went out there to check. He found the cabin, but it was different. The scratches we saw on the wall were gone. The furniture we'd seen overturned was upright again and covered with sheets. The only thing that matched our story was the door we'd blown off the hinges as we ran out. I don't know what we saw that night, and I don't want to know what was in that cabin, but something was in there that night, and it did not want us in there. I wish I could say I don't scare easily, but after what happened to me a few years ago, I will never set foot in an abandoned place ever again. It started out as a stupid dare. We'd have been hanging out one night, telling ghost stories when my friend brought up the old abandoned hospital on the edge of town. You've probably heard of places like it, shut down for years, filled with horror stories about mistreated patients and doctors who did things they weren't supposed to do in the name of science. Well, that night ended up with me doing a test of courage and spending an hour in that hospital. I wanted to prove to them that the stories were shit and the whole haunted hospital thing was just overblown urban legend nonsense. So, with nothing but a flashlight and my phone for radio, I snuck in and into the dark. The air inside was stale. Everything was covered in dust, and the silence felt unnatural. I kept my light low, careful not to make too much noise. The plan was simple: walk around, record some footage, and wait out the hour. For the first 20 minutes, nothing happened. I wandered through empty hallways, past overturned gurneys, and rusted medical equipment. The worst part was the occasional scuttling noise from rats that came from the darkness. Creepy, yes, but nothing paranormal. And then I heard it. A soft click echoed through the hallway behind me. It sounded like a door was unlocking. I spun around and shined my flashlight down the corridor, but nothing was there. Just more empty rooms and peeling paint. My heart rate picked up, but I wasn't scared too much. I kept walking, but then I heard it again. Another click. This time, closer. This one was followed by the faintest creak, like a door swinging open. I swallowed hard and turned a corner, stepping into what looked like an old operating room. And that's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. A metal gurney that was in the middle of the room was moving. It wasn't a fast movement. It was slow, like it was being shifted back and forth. My breath caught in my throat. There was no reason for it to be moving like that. And then my phone light flickered. That was enough for me. I turned around with the intention of leaving, but just as I did, a sound came from the hallway just outside the door. Footsteps. Slow, shuffling footsteps moving in my direction. I ran out of there so fast. I didn't stop until I reached the spot I snuck in through. But as I was about to leave, the PA system crackled to life. I threw myself out of the hole and stumbled around until I managed to get back on my feet and started running. When I was far enough away, I turned back and looked at the hospital. It was completely dark again, silent, like nothing had happened. I got back to where my friends were waiting, and thankfully they didn't ask much. I guess the look on my face was enough to shut them up. I'll never know what was in there with me. And honestly, I don't think I ever want to know. So, what do you guys think? Would you venture into an abandoned place? What do you think would happen? How would you react? Let me know down in the comments what you would do if faced with an experience like this. I'd like to hear about it. Anyway, see you soon.